So holy fuck, the media sucks, right? Anybody familiar with my content over the years knows that I hate the media almost as much as I hate the state. They lie, they misrepresent, they spin narratives to fit an agenda, and that sentiment in previous times would lead people to think I was either paranoid or maybe I needed a tinfoil hat because I was buying into some sort of mind control conspiracy. But these days, anybody who pays attention with an objective mind, even a mind approaching objective, knows that I'm absolutely right about this. From anchors refusing to call riots riots.
You're watching continuous live coverage of these riots that are, not riots, excuse me, it looks like a riot, these protests that are happening in the Fairfax district.
Yeah, that was probably the end of her career. And the other anchors that are insisting, despite the smoldering ashes and burning rubble behind them, that these protests are mostly peaceful.
Which were largely peaceful demonstrations in the face of law enforcement.
The media is dog shit. Most people realize the lack of objectivity and the blatant narrative pushing, and that they'll tell you that they've distanced themselves from that ridiculousness. Don't accuse me of liking CNN, don't accuse me of liking MSNBC. Then they will go and regurgitate the exact same sentiments from any of the slew of politically and intellectually identical late-night talk show comedians. Yeah, the people who tell you that they don't get their news from mainstream outlets get their news from Colbert, or Seth Meyers, or Bill Maher, or Jimmy Kimmel, or John Oliver, and it's Oliver specifically that I'm going to hammer here. Your lefty friends think because it's just political commentary laced with some edgy humor and laugh tracks in the background that it isn't the exact same lefty narrative shaping an echo chamber. Your friends are in the bubble. That's exactly what this is. Now, let's watch, shall we?
Because it was 4 days of a full-throated denial of objective reality. For one thing, there was the misleading portrait they painted of Trump's opponents.
If Biden wins, he'll be controlled by the environmental extremists.
We'd be one step closer to government-run health care.
Biden has pledged to defund the police.
And he's even talking about taking the wall down. How about that?
Great, so we can check these. Were any of these lies? The first claim, Biden will be controlled by the environmental extremists. Well, those extremists certainly exist in the modern Democrat Party and will be pushing for Biden to enact some of those policies. In fact, Biden has already announced a $2 trillion climate plan that includes tackling systemic racism, net zero carbon emissions within the next 30 years. So no, that's really not a lie. Step 2, Biden will move us closer to government-run healthcare. Biden will move us closer to Medicare for all. His VP pick supports mandatory Medicare for all. He himself supports a public option. That is definitely a step towards government health care. Next, Biden on defunding the police. Biden has given a softer answer on defunding the police, saying specifically that he supports reallocating funds to police to go to other services. But according to John Oliver himself, that is exactly what defunding the police means.
Defunding the police absolutely does not mean that we eliminate all cops and just succumb to the purge. Instead, it's about moving away from a narrow conception of public safety that relies on policing and punishment and investing in a community's actual safety net.
Do we agree that we can redirect some of the funding?
Yes, absolutely.
And as far as Trump's border wall goes, of course, Biden has repeatedly said he's going to stop construction. That should be an obvious. That's a go-to. That's not even a hard one. It shouldn't be shocking. But look at the expression on John Oliver's face. As if all those things are just outlandish and ridiculous. When in reality, they're true at least based on Biden's expressed views. Now, what he'll actually do if he won office, who knows? But he has expressed those views. So none of those things were lies, or misrepresentations, or false statements. None of those things were. But if you just took John Oliver's word for it, you would come away thinking, oh, those Republicans saying ridiculous things at their convention. And by the way, I'm a fucking libertarian. There's plenty of objections I had to the Republican National Convention speeches that I heard. But I actually give a fuck about truth. I don't care about shaping a narrative or misrepresenting people. The bottom line is the John Olivers and the Bill Mahers and the Seth Meyers and the Jimmy Kimmells and the Samantha Bees and the Trevor Noahs and all of these people who have the exact same political agenda and ideology, the exact same platform for expressing these political ideologies and agendas, are no different than CNN and MSNBC in that agenda, in that they are shaping a narrative. And look, I'm not here trying to police comedy. I'm not here trying to police news, really. I'm not saying that you can't listen to this sort of stuff where people that are obviously on the left are shaping their own comedy and their own skits and their own narratives around their political ideas. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying at least be aware that that's what's happening.